So now I'd like to do a little bit of review. As you see here, we'll be looking at functional harmony, common practice period harmony terms. You should know functional harmony. Common practice period you may not have heard of, but they're the same thing. Tetrachords you may not have heard about, and major scale construction, of course, you know, but may not have heard in relation to the term tetrachords. There are simple and compound rhythms discussed that will be inserted from one of the live lectures. And again, we just spent a lot of time talking about smooth voice leading, but we'll just go over the final principles there. So let's take a look. So functional harmony or common practice period harmony, they're the same thing. Well, in order to understand what that means, let's just look at the word function. What do we mean by the word function? How does it apply to harmonic practices in analysis, composition, and arranging? Honestly, you look it up in the dictionary. Function means activity, natural purpose, or the relationship between variables, or the working out or operation of something. For example, you go to the bank and you need a bag of pennies counted because you need to cash them in. The coin counting machine isn't functional. It isn't working. It isn't, all its parts aren't doing together what they need to do their job. That's basically what function is and how we're going to look at it in relation to harmony. So functional harmony, our system of harmony, how it works, how all the players of building a scale and building triads from the scale, how they work together and how we hear them and how what our emotional reactions created by how they work together. That's called functional harmony. Functional harmony, as we know it today, develops from around 1600 to 1900, and this period was known as the common practice period. That is why it is also known as common practice period harmony. More commonly, you'll hear people discuss it as functional harmony. During this time from 16 to 1900, chords built from a diatonic scale setting were set into a uniform, common understanding and way to use them. Common usage and understanding. Prior to 1600, there weren't too many rules set in place and people did what they wanted. If any of you are gamers and play any games that are supposed to be set in perhaps the Middle Ages, you'll notice a clear difference to how the music sounds. That's because they were starting to think about maybe some rules, but they weren't set in place. Not until 1600 to 1900, the way we use harmony and think about it and observe its rules today started at that time, 16 to 1900. So, as I said, rules for the uniform understanding and usage were set in place, and this is frequently called functional harmony. It's what you're going to hear. This functional harmony, our Western ears are used to, is a tertian system. Right here. I love that word. Fancy word that simply means three. A tertian system means that we build chords by stacking thirds. Sometimes when you're beginning to build triads, you worry about, well, for example, a major triad is you go from C to E in a C major triad. C to E is a major third, then E to G up to G is a minor third. You need to make that automatic. You need to get yourself some flashcards, write the information out on flashcards and make it automatic so you're not busy counting, is it a major third, it's a minor third. You just know C, E, and G are a C major chord. Bam. F, A, and C are an F major chord. Bam. You already know that it's a major third and then a minor third. You got to get past that and just know how to form an F major chord. You already know how it was structured. But I digress. This system of stacking thirds is a tertian system, and we're going to come back to that terminology in a little bit. Tertian just means we stack thirds. Other systems stack other intervals. We stack thirds. Within this system, this tertian system, each chord has a specific purpose or job, if you will, to do within this context of functional harmony. We're going to talk about those jobs right now. But before we do, I fooled you, we're going to talk about how we formed the scale in the first place. So, tetrachords, you may or may not have heard this term. In ancient Greece, there was a musical instrument. It had 4 strings, and even though this word tetrachord uses chord the way we spell like a CEG chord, a C chord, this has a different meaning. It specifically meant string in Greek, and the tetrachords I'm about to discuss were based on Greek music theory. There was a 4-stringed instrument called a tetrachord. The most common tuning for that instrument was to have a pitch, we got 4 strings, okay? The first string would be at a starting pitch, then they'd go up a whole step. Then they'd go from the second string, they'd go tune up another whole step, and then from the last string, from the third string to the last string, the fourth string, they'd tune a half step. So the distance is just from the first string to the second string to the third string to the fourth string, were first string to second, whole step, second to third, whole step, third to fourth and final string, a half step. So there's that common tuning, whole, whole, half. I hope this is ringing a bell from FUM. What they did was take 2 tetrachords, put them side by side, but make sure that in between the 2 tetrachords was a whole step. So they took a tetrachord, they went up a whole step to join the next one and began a new tetrachord. And we're going to look at some of those right now. The end result, of course, was a major scale. And believe it or not, a major scale is a formula. It's a math formula. The ancient Greeks were into all the structures and math and ratios and music of the spheres and all sorts of things. These are the guys who gave us all headaches in high school geometry. They were very much into numbers and ratios and how they relate. So all these layouts of musical formula that we don't really see on the surface, we don't care about them anymore. We just kind of need to know they're there because the formula is going to help you understand theory better. That's why I'm pointing this out. In the end, this tetrachord, go up a step, join another tetrachord, can't even speak, sorry. Join another tetrachord to it, is a formula. It gives you a major scale. It's a formula. It creates consistent relationships and functions within the structure of whatever you've built, regardless of the starting point. In other words, if you build a major scale, it doesn't matter what major key you're in, the function and relationships of all the scale degrees and the chords you build for them are going to be consistent and stay the same. So let's go through this step by step. So here's a tetrachord built on C. Real easy. First one, first note is C. If I go up a whole step, I get D. If I go up another whole step, I get E. And remember, it's whole, whole, half. If I go up that last, up to the fourth string there, I get a half step to F. Great, it's a tetrachord. Let's look at another one. Here's a tetrachord. I started on E flat. Now I'm only looking at the 4 notes. And I forgot to mention, I'm so sorry, tetra means 4 in Greek. So that's why this is called a tetrachord, because it is literally 4 notes from the Greek, based on the Greek instrument that was tuned this way. So let's start a tetrachord on E flat. We go up a whole step, we get F. F, up a whole step, we get G. Remember that last one is a half step, we get A flat. We didn't make any scales yet, but that's okay. I just want you to see how tetrachords are, how they work, because we're going to do them, we're going to build scales from them in a second. There's another tetrachord built on D. Up a whole step from D is E. Up a whole step from E is F sharp. Be careful, check a keyboard if you need to. Up a half step from F sharp is G. Done. Let's build a tetrachord on G. Trust me, I'm building these tetrachords for a reason. If I start a tetrachord, I'm going to build it on G. I go up a whole step, I get A. I go up another whole step per the formula, I get B. Go up a half step in accordance with the formula, I get C. Again, our formula is whole, whole, half. Tetrachord on B flat. Let's start on B flat. Here we go. B flat, up a whole step, careful, is C. Again, check a keyboard if you need to. C, up a whole step is D. I only need to go a half step for my last one. D, up a half step is to E flat. Let's build one more tetrachord. Let's start on A this time. A, up a whole step, goes to B. B, up a whole step, goes to C sharp. Be careful, check your keyboard if you need to. Then I only need a half step, C sharp, goes up a half step to D. So now, there's all those tetrachords side by side. If you see, here's the C tetrachord, here's the G tetrachord. Remember, to get a major scale, you take 2 tetrachords, but you make sure there's a whole step between them. If I go up a whole step to start a new tetrachord, up a whole step from F is G. If you look across this whole thing, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. There you go. There's a C major scale. Here's an E flat tetrachord. If I end it on A flat, as we did with the formula, and in order to form a major scale, I want to go up a whole step and start a new tetrachord. If I go up a whole step from A flat, up a whole step is B flat. Here's that tetrachord. When I combine them, I get E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat, and E flat major scale. So you see how this is formulaic and it works. Here's a D tetrachord. It ends on G, but to make a scale, I'm going to go up a whole step. Up a whole step from G is A, and there's my A tetrachord, and I get, in the end, when I combine them, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. That's a D major scale. Push them together a little more closely here so you can see. That's exactly what we did. And here they are, all together smushed on one page. Just reviewing what we just said, this is how a major scale is constructed. I know that often you had to memorize whole, whole, half, whole, 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 half. And I forget, honestly, how many times I say the word whole. For me, in my mind, it's 2 tetrachords. Now, a whole step is between them, just like this. Here you go. Here's the C tetrachord, C to F. I put the whole step between them to start on the G tetrachord, and there you go. You got a C major scale. Same deal. It doesn't start what, it doesn't, excuse me, it doesn't matter what note you start on. It matters that you follow the formula correctly. So you don't really have to memorize the notes of a scale. You have to make sure you know the formula correctly and apply it correctly. Here we started on E flat. Formed a tetrachord the right way, went up a whole step to form the next tetrachord the right way, you have an E flat major scale. This is a correct E flat major scale. E flat, F, G, A flat, B flat, C, D, E flat. Same here with the D major scale. The D tetrachord went up a whole step between the 2 tetrachords to begin the second tetrachord. Gives me in the end D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C sharp, D. So this is important because a major scale is a formula. It creates consistent relationships and functions within its structure, regardless of the starting point, meaning what was do, what was the first scale degree, what was tonic. The relationships are going to be the same because this is a formula. We just did it with a bunch of what seemed to be random tetrachords, but we ended up with a major scale every time because we applied the formula correctly. Think about that. We're going to get into more detail about function in an upcoming lecture. But for now, just think about that a little. Hopefully, it would make your formation of major scales a little easier. So let's talk about smooth voice leading now. Some just basic principles. Earlier in the lecture, there were quite a few. We went through progressions, and that was quite a lot of discussion about how the smooth voice leading worked. Go back and review it if you need to. So, smooth voice leading principles, just basic principles. We want to keep each note of the chord from making any large leaps. If you think back to that, when I went from a progression that went from a 1 chord to a 6 chord, we were in F major. Happen to have my keyboard handy. So I don't want to go from F major like this up to D minor like that. That's a huge leap. I want to go from F major like this down to D minor like that. That's within the limit of not going more than a third. I thought that was my next slide, but it's not. We want to retain common tones as often as we can. That will be very helpful. But keep in mind, because chords can be inverted more than one way, you're going to get multiple choices. Whatever choice you make affects what follows. Basic rule of thumb, you do not want to exceed the interval of a third. Let's think about in that F major progression, the last thing we had to do before we returned around back to the 1 chord in F was to hit a C chord. Well, we don't want to jump up here. So here's that F progression. When we had to go from the 5 chord down to the 1 chord, we wouldn't jump like that. That's not smooth voice leading. What we want to do, if we want to get back to the F chord, we want to take that C chord, the 5 chord, and use it in first inversion. I'm going to put the C up on top to get first inversion. Well, here I am retaining a common tone. Here's the C of E, G, C, C major first inversion. When I return to F, that C is the same note. I only have to change E goes up to F and G goes up to A. And this stays the same. So that's, we're just putting a sort of a button on what we discussed back in that particular, working through the progressions there. I did talk briefly also about movable do. It's very simple, honestly. It's the same as scale degree 1 through 8, pronounced do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. This little hash mark is to indicate that it is the do an octave up, not the do we started with. So just like the song, do, a deer, a female deer, except instead of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, we're singing do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. In minor, remember, and it's that is spelled M-I. It's based on Italian. It's pronounced me, even though it's spelled M-I. In minor, it gets a little confusing visually. It's spelled M-E, but it's pronounced may, as in M-A-Y. Keep in mind, in a minor scale, the third scale degree is a half step lower than if you were thinking in a major key. So it's a low 3. The 6th scale degree is also a half step lower, and the 7th scale degree is also a half step lower in natural minor, which it should say natural minor there, but it doesn't. So that would sound like this. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, te, do, te, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Now remember, we looked at the solfege, and you have to just line up. You have to know what key you're in, because the first scale degree, tonic scale degree, is do. The second scale degree is re. The third scale degree is mi. Or in minor, the third scale degree is may, etc. You know how to apply that. That's pretty logical. What I'm not seeing here is I did not include the harmonic minor scale, in which the low 7 is raised up at 1/2 step and becomes T again. So a harmonic minor scale would be do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. So there you go. Natural minor and harmonic minor scales. We're also going to be doing for your evaluations, each time we want to hear a tonic chord in a major key. Now I'm just showing the solfege of it. And remember, it's a relational system. I don't have to be in a specific key. I don't even know what key I'm singing. It doesn't matter, because a major scale is formulaic. I'm simply keeping those ratios, the formula, intact, so that I can sing do, mi, so, do. And I'm a little low. It's a little hard for me to sing that low so. But again, this little hash mark means it's the so below where I started, not the so above where I started. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, te, do, te, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. Natural minor. Harmonic minor. Te becomes T. It's raised a half step. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. That was harmonic minor. When I sing the tonic chord, do, I'm going back to major. Do, mi, so, do. Here's the, excuse me, if I were in a minor key, same tonic. Do, me, do, so, do. Very important to be able to sing a dominant 7th chord. A dominant 7th chord holds a very important position within your system of diatonic triads. It is a point of very high tension, particularly if it's made into a dominant 7th chord. The dominant chord, just a triad, is a point of high tension. If it's made into a 7th, it's even more tension. However, it is important to be able to hear and sing it. So keep in mind, these hashtags mean it's the so below do, where we started our scale. That's the T right below it, re above it, fa, re, ti, so. So let's think in let's think in a major key. Let's think in C major. The dominant 7th chord in C major would be G7. That would be G, B, D, F, right? F, D, B, G. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a visual aid here. G7. 1 chord, 4 chord, 1 chord, 5/7 chord, 1 chord. Just want to give you a sense of being in a key. So there's do. If I want to sing the dominant 7th chord, I go Let me move my little cursor there. This is where I am. It's what I'm about to sing. So, ti, re, fa, re, ti, so. And I'll do it unaccompanied because you should practice this way. Play, match. But when you go to record your evaluation, you cannot accompany yourself when you're singing the solfege. That has to be done a cappella. So you can give yourself the first pitch. So, ti, re, fa, re, ti, so. And because it's such a point of tension, I love to hear do, mi, do, so, do. You are not required to sing it again. I personally just like to have that sense of resolution. So if I sing the whole dealio, if I sing a major scale, I'm not going to do minor at the moment. If I sing a whole major scale, the tonic triad and the dominant seventh triad, I'm going to return to the tonic triad. Do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, ti, la, so, fa, mi, re, do. There was my major scale. Here's my tonic triad. Do, mi, do, so, do. Here's my dominant seventh. So, ti, re, fa, re, ti, so. And I prefer to return to tonic because it sounds resolved to me. Do, mi, do, so, do. There you are. I hope that makes sense. Please don't hesitate to message questions and to attend the weekly online sessions. Bring your questions there. We can discuss things in more detail if you have anything that needs clarification. I just wanted to add a little addendum. I will be inserting a session from the live campus lecture in which I am drilling students on some solfege exercises. I use some hand signals there, and so just so you can understand why my hands are flapping through the air. If you're into history, you can look up Guido d'Arezzo. It's where solfege originated, with Guido d'Arezzo. But the hand signs themselves were invented much later by a British gentleman named Kirwan. They're called the Kirwan hand signs. They are simply a memory device intended to help us all as we're beginning to get sounds into our ears and brains, communicating sounds and what pitches sound like and intervals. It's just research has indicated that's a little bit of a help to have a visual sign attached. So here are the signs. Do, because it's foundation, home base, you're grounded on do. Everything's based on knowing where do is. Re, mi, fa, because the fourth scale degree often pulls down to the third. It's a form of resolution. There's some tension there, and that half step 4 wants to pull down to 3. So do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti. Again, this is a point of tension. Remember when we were discussing in the smooth voice leading via inversions that the 7th scale degree should go up to the 8th or tonic, or 1 tonic, but it must resolve up a half step to tonic. So that's why the T, or 7th scale degree sign, points upward. It wants to resolve that way. So altogether they are do, re, mi, fa, so, la, ti, do. Those are the signs that are being used. And again, those aren't critical. Those are meant to be an extra aid to helping your ear develop. Should watch that and sing along with the class. I think that it will be helpful, and it'll give you an idea of how you can drill yourself to get your solfege improved and really improve your ear training. Do, re, mi. Echo it back. Yep, just do it. Listen again. Do, re, mi, go. Good, listen again. Do, re, mi, you. Mi, re, do. Good. Mi, re, do, you. Re, do, you. Do, mi, do, you. Re, mi, you. Mi, re. Good. Mi, re, do. And that's your solfege is only going to involve those 3 pitches, do, re, and mi, and also this. You ready? So, mi. Yeah, my so is a little hairy to get started too. So, mi. I lovingly refer to so, mi as the nye interval. It's a descending. What interval? Did you guys get it? Bum, bum. What's that interval?
Bum, bum. Figure it out. What is it? Nope, too big. So, do, bum, 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 bum would be a perfect fit. This is so to me. Mm-hmm. You guys should have songs. Mm-hmm. You guys should have songs. You really should make a list. Within FSO, there's an activity listed in an important class. It's one of the opening things where you go to earmaster.com and they have lists and lists and lists of songs that contain a specific interval that should kick in for you. You guys should have your own personal list, really. You shouldn't be going, wait, what's that interval? You should be trying to match it to a reference point. And the whole world does this. This is not just Full Sail. I mean, music schools everywhere. Everybody does this. You need a reference point, basically. So, I know your last name's Ryan and your first name is just like a first name. Scott? Sean. I had the S. I was in the right general area. Okay, so, do, re, mi, fa, so, mi. What's that interval? Did you figure it out? What kind? Descending third, what kind? Major or minor? So, mi. There's two ways you can do it. I prefer you did it by ear, but if you knew the structure of a triad, you would know it's 5 and 3, but we didn't go down to 1. So, mi. What kind of third? It's a minor. It's a descending minor third, okay? This interval is a thing in research. It's called the or interval, UR, because kids go, na, 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 na. If you can go, nya, nya, I refer to it as the nya, nya interval. If you can fit nya, nya in it, it's a descending minor third, okay? And it's actually a thing in many cultures. You know, like even in American culture, mom sticks her head out the door and goes, Johnny, dinner's ready. I'm not kidding. It's a thing. Look it up. The or interval. UR. If you got time. Like, who cares? But take my word. It's a descending minor third. I refer to it as the nya nya interval to get it right. So here we go. So, mi, you. Good. So, do. Yeah, I'm sorry. My pitch is a little hairy. Do your best with me. It's because my voice is screwed up. So, do. So, mi, re. Do, mi, so. Do, mi, so. Mi, so, re. Mi, so, re. You know, and for me, I'm like, that didn't have resolution. Do you hear it? Mi, so, re, do, and I'm happy, but it didn't. Mi, so, re, you. Good, better on the re than I was. So, re, do. So, re, do. Excellent.